Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is Jonas Reports for the 2nd of October. Had some issues with my data feed from TS, but got things back up and going here now. You can see that the market is suffering well from a couple of things. One, we already had recognized that even though we have the dip of the orange going back there on the rising steel, that as soon as that started to fade, we were going to have problems, particularly if you didn't maintain green over cyan, which barely started, but then you ended up with the unexpected news right at the 50% marker. Interesting. Trump and Melania having COVID, so this just throws, with 33 days left, the election just exploded on the scene. Uncertainty for the market, though, is never a good thing because, one, you have the off chance he dies. That would certainly roil the prospects for lots of different things, particularly interesting to the market, i.e. stimulus and moving forward and the chaos that would create. Plus, the market was generally factoring in continuity of things, and that gives a rotation because how much do you want to hedge towards Biden-type securities that might have a completely different outlook compared to Trump policies. So certainly market's feeling it's not horrible. I mean, we're only 50 off on the ES, which is still significant, but not the end of the world, so to speak. From an NQ standpoint, this was already weaker. When we had the break above 50% there, you already had the cyan moving above. You had steel getting close to crossing below. Typically what I look for is that steel dropping below cyan and orange coming above it. That's usually a death nail indication for any kind of rally when we see them on the DOC. But from a Power Mode 2 standpoint, well above the 13, and no real spike of magenta or anything like that to signify that there would be some type of massive sell cross. So this is just more a news-related kind of event from a Euro standpoint, pretty much holding right in line with where it had been for quite some time. From a gold standpoint, of course, defensively, we had been off the bottom of that setup from earlier, and it's rebounding reasonably. I mean, we had just basically to fill a lot of positive extremes and had, for the most part, done a large degree of that. So we could probably look for that to just slightly continue a little further. We did see a little bit more improvement from the green crossing of cyan to indicate that bulls really are back in the scene on that, and that would definitely be resulting in a turnaround of the steel to the upside. But the break of right above negative 13.5 would certainly give an added boost. So keep an eye on that one as well. And when we look at oil still struggling because, again, and this will be an interesting one because from an optics standpoint, does Trump with testing positive? Is he still going out doing rallies? Does it become the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, for those saying that life goes on, that no matter how protected you are and how advanced the testing and everything around you, you still can't run from a virus. There's just no way around it. So there are so many unknowns, but what is known from our 5K adjustment, this happens to be the Power Mode 2, DeoCon Paint 2, with the adjustments that were made on there. And you can see from our, starting up from the end of the day, we would get our signal along with our green dotted line. The green dotted line represents the change in the long-short algos as a support factor for the conversion signals. And played that most of the day, put those charts on our Skype chat so that you could see the clean shorts that run through, buy signals as they come across. And we ended up with quite a few nice trades. If I get rid of, there we go, a little bit better, because that swift decline post announcement certainly has had impact. But we had some beautiful ranges, both from the short side was playing this, as well as then the long turnaround, and they're going to be even further refined. They'll probably be having an update coming out in the next day or so, because within that, where there are these adjustment moves for turnaround setups, it'd be a little bit earlier right here, and then that would give you the earlier signal as opposed to where it shows the green right now simply because that was equivalent configuration with the turnaround in that. It's just that this was reading a no steal conversion. And what I like, and this is something I was talking about the other day, when it comes down to it, it's like when I'm getting a decline and I start to see a base and then have a dip of the orange, it may not be a buy, but what I end up doing is I usually potentially cover a short down near the lows on that and then let it bounce up, and depending on what your readings are, whether you have a continuation or if you get the actual long signal, you can go flip around easily that way, or if it maintains a weakness, then you can certainly add to a short from a higher level. So because I'm not one of those, it's just like, okay, I've had a huge gain, and it becomes difficult management wise when you have the large gains off a move, because it's like, well, where do you end? Do you wait for the full turnaround? I sometimes like being out of those, collect that return, and then start from fresh. That keeps your mind active, because sometimes when it goes in a long continuation, you sort of like just forget about it and like to stay in with it. So we moved all the way back up to the 50% off that decline, and then immediately saw the rejection. And this is more or less what I was talking about. When you break down below, you usually want to see that orange spike up. Here wasn't quite weak enough at that particular spot, but by the time you ended up with the orange spiking over here, clearly indicated that you were about to have some weakness. So the question was looking for power mode 2 to break up there, and it held on for quite a bit throughout those, and then made this much clearer when you see how when it happens all together, uniformed, where you have the steel cross below, the orange moving above, and in this particular case, the green was also failing at that one. That's usually a pretty clean indication. And so within the trade management portion of the green turning, if it's not already flipped, like in this particular case, it already went to the red off of that earlier, it will give it a much tighter reading, but overall it was phenomenal as far as what we're seeing from the clean nature of these setups, even within a 5K. So very exciting with that, continuing to modify within the parameters that we've already got with it, but certainly liking the direction that it's headed. As always, though, I will update the Skype chat and keep you all informed, and I'm sure this is going to have the news, at least, of Trump's situation is going to have broad implications. So the market is certainly going to be moving at a much higher volatility now. If it already wasn't going to, this is certainly going to add to that. So looking forward to the excitement of it. As always, though, trade well. We'll talk to you later.